If you would stand for a moment to help wakefulness and stimulate brain activity. This is going to be really weird. If you just kind of like rub your earlobes, there's actually some neuroconnectors that sort of alert your mind and wake you up. Thank you for doing this strange thing. All right, take a deep breath, kind of loosen up. You've been sitting a little while. Okay, it's still morning. Maybe the caffeine hasn't kicked in, and be seated. Thank you. So I want you to imagine for a moment, this may be a stretch for some of you, but imagine you're a parent of young children, and you wake up every night at 2 a.m. to screams or cries or nightmares. Sometimes they're your own, sometimes they're a young person's. You change 27 diapers a day, you're constantly wiping noses, you have the doctor on speed dial for ear infections and sinus infections and things like strep throat. And then you go to church one Sunday, and some sweet member who has just the best intentions comes up to you, somebody who has had young children in the 1900s, and they come up to you and they say, "Oh, these are precious years. Like, make the most of them because they go by so quickly." And you know that that's a true statement, but you don't want to hear it right now because all you can think about is, this is taking forever. I'm going to be changing diapers for the next millennia. And you're just stuck in that particular moment. This is the way that the end of Matthew's gospel feels. As Jesus nears the end of his earthly ministry, we get into the later chapters, chapter 25 today, where he tells a bunch of stories about how the end will come, that the world won't go on like this forever. There is an end to it, as we know. There's an end to this age, and then there's the beginning of a new age. And the king will return soon at any moment, but it seems like it is taking forever. There's the war in Ukraine and Israel and Palestine, and AI is taking over the world, and there's the opioid epidemic, and then there's another mass shooting, and on and on and on. And we think, Jesus, this has got to be close to the end, right? You're coming back soon, right? But then you woke up today, just like you did yesterday, and you're like, oh, it keeps going. And so with Jesus, there's this tension between like an imminent end. It's right at hand. It's right in front of us. It could be any moment. And at the same time, it seems like there's this delay. A tension between imminence and delay. And we get that in the stories that Jesus tells. He kind of describes this tension between imminence and delay. So he tells all these stories. The one we hear today is a strange one about virgins and oil and lamps, and it's kind of hard to understand, maybe a little bit. And so rather than talk about ancient wedding customs, let me try this. Imagine that you are at a wedding, and it's after the ceremony, but before the reception, in that kind of middle time. It's like the cocktail hour. So the reception just happened, and the congregation, the guests are dismissed for the cocktail hour. You go to the bar, you get some little like shrimp on a platter or the little bruschetta or whatever you want. It's your own thing. Just imagine the kind of things you want. And you're just eating and you're waiting because the bride and groom are going and they're taking pictures somewhere. And you're just waiting for them to take all their pictures, and then eventually they're going to come into the hall for the grand march. And the wedding party is going to come in 2 by 2, and they're going to do their little dances. And then finally, the bride and groom are going to come in, and everybody's going to cheer and scream and yell to greet the new Mr. and Mrs. And so you're in that middle hour, the cocktail hour, just waiting. And finally, the bride and groom are done taking 8,257 pictures, and their cheeks are sore, and they're ready to come into the hall, and it's time. And they need to have all of their wedding party together because the groomsmen and the bridesmaids, their job is to help celebrate. They're supposed to be ready to be there, except when the bride and groom are ready, the DJ's ready, but only half the wedding party is. Only 5 of the couples are there. The other 5 are somewhere. They're in the parking lot or who knows where. They're not there. And they're like, well, what's going on? We've got to get this party started. We can't wait anymore. The people have already been waiting a long time. And the caterer says it's dinner time, and we're ready to go. And so the bride and groom finally say, we got to go in. And so with the groomsmen, the bridesmaids who are there, they go in, and the couple goes in, and the others are left out. And Jesus says, the kingdom of heaven is like this. Why does Jesus talk about the end and his return using a wedding as a metaphor? It's a strange thing. I'm going to let Jesus tell you what it means, because we have a lot of questions. What does this mean? So what? What does that have to do with us? I'm going to let Jesus explain it. There are 3 words that he uses that I think get to the heart of what he wants you to know. 3 words. And I forgot my clicker, so I'm going to need your help. Let's go to the first word. Wise is the first word. He talks about some foolish bridesmaids and the wise bridesmaids. Now, just to be clear, in the Bible, foolish doesn't necessarily mean like a low IQ or stupid. Foolish actually means those who don't acknowledge God, who are ignorant of God and selfish in their focus. And so there are these foolish ones, and then there are the wise ones. The wise ones who are alert to the God reality all around them. Alert, aware, and ready for the God reality around them. Not distracted by wealth or pleasure or momentary happiness. They're the wise ones. It's the first word that gives us a clue to what Jesus is saying here. Be wise. Alert to the God reality around you. Second word is ready. Those in the wedding party are sometimes called attendants. You know, the bridesmaids are attendants to the bride and to the groom. And so an attendant will say, hey, I'm here for you, whatever you need me to do. I will attend to you. Do you need me to sign the marriage license? I'll do it. Do you need me to tell your dad where to go because he's just wandering aimlessly over here? I'll do that. Do you need me to give a speech? I'll do that. Do you need me to tell the DJ your favorite song? I'll do that. They're attendants. They attend to the bride and groom. They're ready at all times to do what they need to do. Jesus is the groom. We are the bride. But the bridegroom also needs attendants. He's about to enter. The question is, are you ready? And you say, Jesus, I will attend to whatever you need. I'm waiting. I'm ready. I'll attend. Do you need me to raise my kids in the Lord? I'll do it. Do you need me to be a responsible and helpful employee or an upright student at school? I'll do it. Do you need me to be generous with what I have? I'll do that. You need me to help my pastor, serve my church? I'll do that. You need me to pray for my neighbor? I'll do that. You need me to care for my parents? I'll do it because I'm attentive to you. I'm ready. So to be ready, to be an attendant, always watching, always ready to do what God has called you to do. Be wise, be ready. Third word, it's in verse 13. Watch. Watching is about focus. What are you focused on? What's your ultimate, what gets your ultimate attention? A few weeks ago, I was at a farm over the river in Millstadt, Illinois, and they had chickens, hundreds of chickens, running all over the place. And there are coyotes in the woods. And so for the chickens, they have Great Pyrenees, dogs. And the Pyrenees are guardian dogs. They're alert and watchful. Their ears are perked up, listening, nose up to the wind to smell, and they're always watching. Just kind of running around the chickens, always on guard, always watching. So too, with this word that Jesus uses, watch. It's about focus. It's about being fixated on the bridegroom, Jesus, watching for him. Look to him, be in his house, call on him, come to his table. Think about him, not just on Sundays, but throughout the day. Hear his word, memorize his word, repeat his words. Watch for him. Always be attentive. Be a Pyrenees, a great Pyrenees. Don't be too distracted by too much TV or TikTok or Facebook or video games or politics or sports. That's peripheral. Be watchful. Don't miss it. Attentive to him. Be wise. Be ready. Be watchful. Take a look at the whole verse. If we go to the next slide, you kind of see the context for this word watch. Matthew 25:13. If you'd read this with me. Watch, therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour. We believe Jesus will come in fullness and finality. It's going to happen. He could come at any time. And look closely at this verse. The point is less when, and it's more who. Don't obsess over the exact minute or hour. You don't know the day or the hour. The focus is really who, to be ready, to be watchful for a person, the groom, the coming king, his arrival. Have your ears up, your nose to the wind, looking for him. Whenever there is a conflict in Israel and in Palestine, preachers will come out in droves and start talking about the exact moment, like this is the time. Just be careful. Jesus said, you don't know the time. Now, we fear not. The focus is less on the exact time and more on the fact that he actually comes. So every time that there's a war or a conflict, what it actually does is it perks us up. We pay more attention. We fear not, but we're ready. We're watching. We're saying, Jesus, we know. We're looking for you. We're watching for you. We're following you. Watch, therefore. You don't know the day or the hour, but watch. Last week I visited a member in her 90s, and her life has slowed down, and so she spends most of her time kind of around home, in her home. In her living room is a recliner, and she's very slight, so she doesn't take up a lot of the recliner. If her recliner's like this wide, like she occupies like this much of it. And she sits on one side, and on the other side, I sit down and I look, and there's this stack of books up to her shoulder. She's just like cuddled up with these books right next to her. And so I looked a little closer. What are they? It's her Bible, a hymnal, a stack of devotional books, a stack of printed copies of our daily pattern, our daily devotional resource, all in a stack up to her shoulder. She's not watching TV 12 hours a day. She's watchful for Jesus. She's ready. At any age, doesn't matter how old she is, just always ready, always watchful, attentive to the real reality. Be wise, be ready, watch. The groom is coming. The cocktail hour doesn't go on forever. The feast is ready. And when that comes, there'll be joy and laughter and celebration and delight, and you are invited to it. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great day. And all will be made well. Jesus is the groom, and you're like his bride, and he loves you more than anything. When a couple gets married, they make vows to each other, and they say, until death parts us. Well, Jesus does even better. He says, not even death will part us. When he makes a promise, he makes it in blood, and it means forever, with no end, that not even death will end the promise. Paul says that nothing will separate us from the love of God in Jesus Christ our Lord. Nothing. And so this groom, when he makes a promise and when he binds himself to you, it means forever. And he's coming. And it's soon. And all of this won't go on forever. He will return. So be wise. Be ready. Be watchful. Amen.